Deivon Franklin, a 6'7" transfer from South Alabama. Both guys bring scoring experience, playing experience. They had 31 starts each last season, and they're veteran guys. So Tech will see what they got tonight at McCamish Pavilion.
Now, Franklin not in the starting lineup tonight, but they expect him to be a part of the group that closes out tight games for Georgia Tech. Lance Terry, one of 5 starters, and the opening tap of the season belongs to Clayton State in the hands of their graduate point guard Brian Coffey II. Clayton State 8-20 a year ago. Ricardo Sams on the drive. His layup won't fall. And Deivon Coleman secures the rebound. Here come the Yellow Jackets. Look at Tech's starters. Rodney Howard, the senior, anchoring the base of that famed zone defense. Rodney starting his 3rd straight season opener for the Jackets. Kyle Sturdivant, the other veteran in the lineup, and then a couple of sophomores and Deivon Smith and Deivon Coleman. Smith in his 3rd year of college basketball, but with that COVID year. Sturdivant at the controls. Pulls up inside the lane, leaves it short. And that'll belong to Georgia Tech.
And the Yellow Jackets playing 4-around-1 offensively. Look for them to make a concerted effort to get the ball inside to Howard early on in this one. He's got the advantage on the inside.
Tech finished 11th in scoring last year in the ACC. They found a rhythm late in the season as the inbounds pass deflected by the true freshman Bryce Weinmanson. And for the Jackets, of course, 2 years ago, ACC champions. John, they finished in the top 5 of the ACC in each of those 2 seasons prior to last year when they finished 14th out of 15, 5 and 15 in ACC play. Howard with the size advantage, but a long way from the hole. Terry down the right side, floats it, and too strong. Another offensive board for the Jackets, and he'll stick with Georgia Tech. One thing you notice here in the starting lineup for Clayton State, not a lot of size, John. They're down one of their top players, Jalen Shaw, who will not play tonight. There's head coach Vince Alexander in his 2nd season. There is Shaw and Dudley Blackwell on the bench. In fact, Shaw sitting in the 2nd row.
Shaw was a 2nd-team all-conference player for Coach Alexander last season. That's a big void to fill, especially with the 6'11" Howard anchor in the paint.
First foul on Rodney Howard. So Ricardo Sams will inbound. A look at the starting lineup for the Lakers. Bunch of new faces in the lineup for Clayton State. Brian Coffey II, Ricardo Sams Jr., the few veterans. Weinmanson, Harper, and Leckie, all freshmen, getting the start tonight for Clayton State. This is an exhibition game for Clayton State. Will not count towards their record. For Georgia Tech, it counts. That 3-pointer halfway down and out. Deivon Smith secures the board, and he'll push tempo. Around the horn, Terry 3. Off the rim, no good. Rodney cannot handle the rebound. Vince Alexander, as we said, in his 2nd season, feels like his group has a little more cohesion this year. They had tons of new players a year ago as he took over. They returned 4 of 5 starters from a year ago, but many of them not playing tonight.
Georgia Tech showing zone, so a little man switching up to zone. Josh Pastner, known for switching defense, forcing turnovers out of his half-court zone sets.
Part of what makes them the toughest scout in the ACC, according to Josh Pastner. What they do so versatile in their defense. Smith with the crossover pullback. No. Batted back to the perimeter. It's a scrum on the floor. And jump ball will be the call.
Both teams with the jitters early on with the shooting, but the hustle is there.
This team's combined 0 for 10 so far. Yellow Jackets 0 for 6 from the floor. Our officials, Mark Schnurr, Kevin Milner, and Ben Sturt. Not what we expected from Georgia Tech offensively, John. They shot the ball extremely well in their scrimmages against Tulane and Vanderbilt. 80 points plus in each. Terry trying to get free. The three-pointer from the top of the arc won't go. Howard, second chance. That won't fall. And the putback again, no, and finally, the seal is broken. Rodney Howard with the first points for Georgia Tech this year.
Howard keeps hitting the boards. He's going to be on his way to a 15-plus rebound night. Very active. I like the body on him right now. Looks like he shed some weight in the offseason. Looking lean.
Wymanson over to Harper. Clayton State, tough time getting into the lane. Settle for a fadeaway jumper from Coffey. Smith on the pedal. The pass to Terry. Won't go. Howard sticks it back. He's already got four.
Big fella with the hustle, running the floor, rim to rim. Gotta love that.
4 points, 5 boards already for Howard. Haven't even played 4 minutes yet. Fed inside to Sims. He has it jarred loose by Smith. Jackets with the steal. Lance Terry with the elevation. And Lance Terry, welcome to Georgia Tech. His first points as a Yellow Jacket. An electric jam.
Didn't know he had springs like that. He took off. Clear the runway. Terry making his presence felt in his first home opener at the Cambridge Pavilion.
Scary Terry. Transfer from Gardner-Webb. We were told, John, he's got some serious...
First season in front of a crowd, new faces on the team. You're going to miss some shots from the perimeter early. You can't replicate the pressure of playing in front of a live audience in an exhibition.
Especially with those closed exhibitions that the Yellow Jackets played against Tulane and Vanderbilt. Kyle Sturdivant, some activity, and forces the turnover. Senior from Norcross, Georgia. His third year as a Jacket.
Sturdivant, a heady play coming from behind the action. Got his hands on the ball.
And I think for Kyle, you're looking for him to kind of be the floor general and sort of the steady hand of this Yellow Jacket team. Deivon Smith, finger roll off the glass and in. Junior from Loganville's got his first points of the night.
And Sturdivant will be a leader on this team, playing the point guard. 9 of his last 19 games last season, he went without a turnover. He's a heady player, high IQ guy, can facilitate the offense. He's going to play hard, and he's a veteran. He's got minutes under his belt.
Deivon Smith going to be whistled for the foul there. Second team foul on Georgia Tech. And going back to Sturdivant, John, I mean, he's got the most returning minutes of any player on this Tech roster, and that assist-to-turnover ratio, as you mentioned, didn't turn the ball over hardly at all in the back half of the season. 2-1 against ACC competition last year, 21 conference games.
And he had 7 ACC games in double-figure scoring. He's not going to have to score for this team every night, but he can do it. You see the 3 right there. Clayton State coming back, getting on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Wes Williams, he was their leading three-point shooter in their scrimmage against Clark Atlanta. He shot close to 40% from beyond the arc last year. At 6'9", he has got some serious range. Sturdivant probing to Howard at the elbow. Deivon Smith finds a little space and rattling around out. Sturdivant, the offensive rebound, feeds to Howard on the no-look pass. And before the shot, they'll whistle Rodney for a turnover. Called for the walk.
So had him shuffling his feet. Rodney was anxious to get it up there, move the feet. Turnover for the Jackets. 5-point lead. Both teams starting to settle in a little bit.
And Javon Franklin makes his Yellow Jacket debut, the senior from Little Rock, Arkansas. This is his 6th year of college basketball. And John, in an era of the transfer portal, you think you find a lot of college coaches at the Power 5 level. You know, they almost prefer to bring in a more veteran player. 3-point bucket there from Kobe Johnson. And so do you bring in a true freshman, or you get a guy like Javon Franklin, who's got 1 year of eligibility remaining but has played a lot of college basketball?
Yeah, 31 starts at South Alabama. Again, he had a couple years experience junior college, also played at Auburn.
And Miles Kelly with a pure stroke. A sophomore from Parkview High School. Ricardo Sams fade away off the back of the iron. Behind the back to Miles Kelly. Kelly finished his high school career at Hargrove Military Academy, but it's an Atlanta, Georgia native. Stone Mountain specifically. With the left, Javon Franklin. Nice touch from the big fella. Jackets heating up, 5 of the last 6.
Franklin's a guy 17 feet and in. He's got ball handling skill. He's agile. He had a nice extension there. Can knock down the mid-range. Look for him to bring a lot of energy off the bench to this Jackets lineup. And when they play small ball, minus Rodney Howard, he will anchor the paint and be called on to rebound the basketball.
High arcing shot from Coffey won't go. Extra pass underneath. Sams has it swatted from behind by Franklin. Kelly corrals the loose ball.
Franklin, nice job off the basketball, being a disruptor.
Kelly with the step to the hole and one. Miles Kelly made his first and only start last season in the ACC tournament. He's a guy who found a lot of confidence those last 5 or 6 games last year for Georgia Tech, John.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I look to for this Jackets team. He can step up. You know, you're minus Jordan Usher, minus Michael DeVoe, 2 graduates that scored 53% of the points for the Jackets last year. Miles is going to fill that gap. He should have confidence. He's not going to be deferring when he's on the court to 2 other seniors. He's a guy that can really make strides this season as a sophomore.
Yeah, and in that one start against Louisville in the ACC tournament, he had a career-high 19 points. 15 the previous game against Boston College as he misses the free throw attempt. Can't complete the N1.
He was combined 6 of 9 from 3 in those games as well.
Tristan Maxwell, the on-ball defender, guarding Johnson, and he'll go to the line for 2. Jalen Moore also checking in for the first time this year.
Kobe Johnson with the drive. Nice hesitation, drew the contact. Miami, Florida native by way of St. Petersburg Community College.
Yeah, he and Keandre Jackson, who transferred in, were teammates at St. Petersburg College, now both Clayton State Lakers. Johnson misses the first free throw. There's a Miami flavor on this Clayton State roster. You've got Ricardo Sams from Miramar, a suburb of Miami, who touched on Johnson and Jackson. Also got Dudley Blackwell, who won't play tonight. Johnson hits the second free throw, snaps a 7-0 run for Georgia Tech. A 3-quarter court press from the Lakers. Jalen Moore going baseline. Taking on Williams. That's Tristan Maxwell, who hasn't played a whole lot over his Tech career. In fact, he's appeared in just 6 games entering this year across 2 seasons. Moore whistled for the offensive foul. Nice work by Wes Williams.
Feet were set on that play. Nice job. Jalen Moore, a little bit out of control on that one.
He had his best game as a Jacket last year, Jalen Moore, against Clayton State. He had 13 points in 13 minutes. Flashed some real high-end upside in that game.
He's another guy that can make strides with opportunity. Played in 13 ACC games last season. Another 3-pointer there from Wes Williams.
That's the 3rd triple of the night for Clayton State. Last year when Tech defeated Clayton State 103-53, Clayton State really struggled from distance. They shot just 15% from 3. So we'll take a break. 15-10. Georgia Tech with the lead over the Lakers. Wes Williams feeling it. Got the stroke working early in the season opener. Opening night, McCamish Pavilion, 15-10. Georgia Tech with the lead over Clayton State. And one notable face not here tonight, Eric Reveneau, who spent the last 6 seasons on Georgia Tech's coaching staff, John. Took the associate head coaching job at Oregon State. He's a West Coast native and wanted to get back out there. And that presents quite a loss for Georgia Tech. What made Coach Reveneau so valuable?
I think experience, personality, his ability to connect with players. You know, congrats to him on getting home out west. I know that was probably a hard decision. He and Coach Passner, great chemistry, but You know, he was Final Four coach as an assistant at Stanford, coached the Lopez twins, the College twins, Mark Mad Dog Madsen. He developed bigs. I mean, here, Ben Lammers, James Banks, Moses Wright, guys that have gone on to play professionally. That's a void to fill.
Deivon Smith finds some open space in the lane, and it won't fall. Franklin was there to slam it home, but it was above the cylinder.
He was. He had some bounce, little pogo stick action there. His hand was above the square.
Plenty of athleticism on this team. The question for Georgia Tech is, what do they do without that bona fide rim protector? Let's get a defensive foul against the Jackets. That'll be on Jalen Moore. It's his second, 5th team foul here in the first half for Tech. But, John, that's one of the big questions for this team defensively, is you don't have that trademark rim protector for Georgia Tech like they've had so many years under Josh Pastner. How do they overcome that? Like tonight, maybe not as much a factor against Clayton State. Moving forward, that'll be a story. Yeah, that's where defense becomes, you know, a sum of the parts. 5 guys working in unison when you don't have that shot-blocking rim protector. Howard, he's going to hold his own down there, but he's not a guy that's going to bounce up and swat ACC shots left and right. So it's going to be a development of the young talent and understanding of the game, watching film with assistants. You know, it's all got to come together. It comes with experience. It starts here tonight. At one point, Coach Passer's quick to make as Debo Coleman drills a 3. That's his first points. Boy, Debo Coleman, he was so impactful as a shooter last year. Led the team, shot 41% from beyond the arc. Had more threes his freshman year than Michael DeVoe did in his first year as a Yellow Jacket. Debo's got some range, too. He hit that from one step inside the C on the Kremen's Court logo. Coleman again with the ball in his hands. Goes left into the lane. Won't fall. Wes Williams with the rebound. But those bigs for Georgia Tech, they feel confident they can move their feet as the second try that time for Christian Chambers goes. Transfer from Columbus State. Jalen Moore scoops it off the glass. Jackets stretch the lead. 6 points, 2-possession game. Working in transition. They give up a bucket, but right back at the Clayton State Lakers. Coffee down the aisle. Long rebound. Belongs to Kobe Johnson. Chambers walled off by Kelly. Air ball. Yellow Jackets secure it. Vince Alexander's team getting after it, though. Both ends of the floor, playing hard. Tough shot for Franklin. And a battle for the ball. Kobe Johnson's got it. Georgia Tech defeated Clayton State by 50 points in January of last season. Clayton State hanging around here a little further. They're 3 of 6 from long range. From the free throw line that time won't go for Baki Leckman. Redshirt freshman from South Cobb High School, Powder Springs. Not too far here from Midtown Atlanta. Tristan Maxwell pulls the trigger. Too strong. Kobe Johnson the rebound. Ahead to Coffee. And contact, and they're going to get Tristan Maxwell for the foul. What do you got here, John? Maxwell a little late, sliding the feet to the left. Late on the action. That's a block. Good effort. Clayton State will have a baseline out of bounds situation, 26 on the shot clock. Well, now 6 fouls in the half for Georgia Tech. Lakers will be shooting the rest of the way. Bryce Weinmanson, true freshman, will inbound to the 60-year senior Ricardo Sams. Back underneath to Johnson. Nice job of waiting out Sturdivant, but couldn't finish. And then a loose ball in the hands of the Lakers. And it's Christian Chambers with 2-hand slam. It was a nice baseline out of bounds play. They just missed the layup and fortunate bounce. Able to get 2 on the board. Got the Yellow Jackets lead to 4. Howard, wide open lane, and he flushes it. Rodney Howard now with 6 points.
with an open post, Baki Lecky can't take the risk on that unless you're going to get a hand on it, and left the driving lane wide open for Howard.
Good ball movement by Clayton State on the far side. Three-pointer won't go. Coleman accelerating up to Kelly. Kelly lets it fly in transition. Off the front of the rim, no good. Fed ahead. Sams with a two-hand jam. Clayton State. Back-to-back dunks.
Sams is the second leading returning scorer on this roster at 9.3 points per game last season. He's looking to get into double figures in scoring this season on his averages.
So it's 7 minutes and 22 seconds. The Yellow Jacket lead down to 4. Rodney Howard with his two-hand slam. And on the other end, Ricardo Sams with an answer.
Off the turnover, competing. Coach Alexander said, we're not afraid to run with this Jackets team. We're going to play hard. We're going to get after it.
And that was the style he wanted to bring to Clayton State. They want to play fast. It was a program that was really in a tough spot. They did not win a game the season prior to his arrival. Of course, they only played 9 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But 8-20 last year, and they've got a lot of pieces back this year, although some of them not available tonight, including their preseason all-conference selection, Jalen Shaw. He's got a boot on his left foot. But they're not lacking for energy and effort tonight. Coleman tries to get it to Smith, and it's deflected out of bounds. It'll stay with Georgia Tech. 3 seconds to shoot.
And Georgia Tech has taken high percentage shots. 21 of 27 attempts have been 2-point field goals. So they're not settling. They're just, missing shots. Some jitters. First game of the year.
Good contest at the buzzer, but Deivon Coleman works through Baki Lecky. Deivon Coleman, he might be the best shooter on the floor this season for Georgia Tech.
And I like the call by Josh Pastner. 3 seconds on the clock. Get it to your big-sized guard in scoring position, and Deebo knocked it down. Great execution. Good play call by Josh Pastner.
Corner three from Coffey won't fall. Deivon Smith all the way to the rim, and it gets stuck. Jump ball belonged to Clayton State. There's a lot of nice pieces on this roster, John. Still trying to figure out who that leading scorer might be.
Yeah, anyone can step up. They've got some depth at each position. There's no clear-cut favorite. What I like to see is the tempo, the style of play. They're getting to the basket. They had transition on that possession, just missed another layup. But style of play, I think the Jackets are executing, playing fast. They're just not making shots right now.
Tech leading by 6. 6 minutes and change left in the first half. Inside, Lecky steps out, pulls the trigger, hits it. Baki Lecky, redshirt freshman.
It's a nice job offensively by the Lakers attacking the zone. You want to try to attack in the middle, get it to the high post and work out. And they executed great zone offense on that possession. Lecky knocked down the 15-footer.
Howard in the high post. To Sturdivant. He drives. Can't finish, but he got slapped on the arm there, so he'll go to the line. Going to be just the second foul on Clayton State. It's going to go against Kobe Johnson.
Another possession for the Jackets. 3 feet from the basket. High-quality shot. Missed layup. But a great shot. Howard with the handoff at the high post. Sturdivant did a nice job turning the corner. He stayed with it. He'll have a chance to earn his points. The Norcross, Georgia native, senior.
Shot 78% from the line last year. And he misses the first. And on the topic of star power, John, for Georgia Tech this year, Coach Pastner's made it no secret. He says the star of the team is the team.
There's a lot to be said to that. I mean, philosophy right there. Philosophy 101. It's got to be a team effort. There is no star. And these guys are new guys playing with each other for the first time in a competitive regular season game. It's about knowing your role, accepting your role, listening to your coaching. And, you're going to grow as the season goes. Watch film. Assistant coaches will work to identify, what is the identity of this team? I'm not sure we know yet.
Weinmanson Off to Coffey. He did not play in this game a year ago. He was out with injury, their point guard. It'll be Johnson around the perimeter. Rodney Howard a long way from home on Wymanson. Coffey penetrates, has it stripped. Sturdivant with it. Here come the Yellow Jackets on the run. Down the left side of the lane. Won't go, but Sturdivant headed back to the free throw line.
Good hustle play, active hands. Smith gets his hands in there. Sturdivant, high IQ point guard, the transfer from Southern Cal. He's had 3 years on the flats. He'll get to the line again. All academic, honor roll student.
At your point, John, there haven't been many turnovers from either side. Both teams just missing shots right now. Sturdivant hits the first of 2. Brian Coffey will get a rest. That foul, by the way, was on Wymanson, his first.
Jackets 36% from the field. Clayton State 33%.
Sturdivant after those free throws now with 3 points tonight. Sam's guarded by Howard. Gets a step on his man and beats him to the lane.
They're attacking that high post. Sam's the quickness advantage on Howard with the rip through.
And a foul off the ball. I think Lance Terry drew it. It's going to be on Wymanson. That's his second now.
And the Lakers playing small ball. You see a strategic substitution. Howard out, Franklin in. Maybe a little more athleticism defensively guarding that high post where the Lakers have hurt the Jackets on consecutive possessions.
Kelly flashes open in the corner. Won't go. Sam's with the rebound. Down to the corner. That's Harper. He got it. 2 points for Travis Harper the second. Jackets trying to run after a make, and Sturdivant with the turnaround pop. He got it.
Way to answer by the senior, Sturdivant. Harper's talented. He's got good DNA. His dad played basketball at UAB, 1994 to 98.
And here comes Smith the other way. Wide open. He lays it in. Deivon 2 of 8 from the floor now. Yellow Jackets ahead by 7. Terry nearly lost his footing. Sam's the extra pass to Chambers. And a beautiful timing by Christian Chambers. Got his man in the air, drew the foul, and got the bucket.
Josh Pastner was not happy with the defensive record. Went right to the bench. Substitution, Debo Coleman coming in.
It'll be Chambers at the lane. When we return, Clayton State continuing to play with high energy. On opening night.
Yeah, defensively, you want to see active hands, blocks, group effort, deflections. Both teams getting after it. But 50-50 balls. Coach Pastner will preach we want to win 50-50 balls. Clayton State, early on in this one, has got the best of those. You see the run out on that play. Transition defense will be a major factor in deciding this one.
Over the last 8 minutes, after Georgia Tech dominated Clayton State in the first 8 minutes, John, on the glass, Clayton State has actually out-rebounded the Yellow Jackets since the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, and you know, the defensive assignment of Howard having to guard that 15-foot ISO situation. Georgia Tech's had to go small to adjust to Coach Alexander's roster, and they're giving up some height. So Clayton State getting after it, gang rebounding as a team.
We spoke with some members of the Georgia Tech program before the game, John, and given that Jalen Shaw, their big man for Clayton State, not playing tonight, it kind of presents a unique assignment defensively, having to guard essentially 5 shooters. You don't see that very often in the ACC.
Yeah, that's tough to prepare for, especially if you're playing man-to-man. You put your post players outside, playing 25 feet from the ball, guarding ball screen action, dribble handoffs. It can be challenging. I would look for Coach Pastner to throw a heavy dose of that zone defense, which has been so good to him during his career. And it's not a lackadaisical zone. It's an active zone. Guys play big. They'll force turnovers out of that. Really puts the offense on their heels.
That's the 3rd foul on Miles Kelly, by the way. Chambers hits the first free throw. Transfer from Columbus State. Kelly will head to the bench, and Jalen Moore back on the floor. Chambers, he shot 87% from the free throw line last year. Rare to see him miss one like we saw earlier.
He's got a solid stroke. A lot of confidence. You mentioned rebounding. Being out-rebounded, that's the absence of DeVoe and Usher, two guards that rebounded the ball tremendously well, and there's an adjustment to that. Georgia Tech's got to have 5 guys hitting the glass, especially their perimeter.
And that rebound in and off the hands of Debo Coleman. So Clayton State trailing by 3, and with the basketball here late in the first half. Coach Alexander's got to be pleased here.
And that's one thing, young sophomores, a guy like Kelly, Debo, these guys got to understand it's not all about scoring. It's not all about offense. Like defensive rebounding for a guard, huge stat. And if you want to find minutes, rebound the basketball on both sides.
Sturdivant alley-oop to Smith off the backboard. Didn't have the timing quite right. Sturdivant seizes it back. Moore blocked and fouled as they'll whistle Travis Harper. So he got more than just the ball.
Good job by Georgia Tech putting pressure on the Lakers. They're still having a tough time finishing, but the effort is there. Tempo, I think if they play fast, that's in Georgia Tech's favor. Clayton State's going to try to play with them, though.
Jalen Moore, sophomore from Birmingham, Alabama. You can make a compelling case that he might have the most upside of any player on this Georgia Tech roster, John. Jalen Moore, standing 6'7". He's got some length. He's got some bounce. I even heard one of Tech's staff members comparing to Moses Wright as a sophomore, where the highs can be really special, but that consistency can prove elusive for him. He hits 1 of 2 free throws.
He's a late bloomer. He's a 3-star prospect, all-state player out of Gardendale High School in Alabama. He has a lot of upside. What he needs is minutes on the court. Of that freshman crew last year, he was the one that received the fewest minutes in meaningful play, ACC play, that is.
7 to shoot. Coffee beats his man high off the glass, too strong. Moore the rebound.
You see his skill set, for his size, handle the ball, right there, decision making. Can't turn that ball over, and that's where he can develop.
Harper surging through off the glass, the lead down to 2. Just over 2 minutes to play in the first half. Georgia Tech, Clayton State. This is a regulation game for the Yellow Jackets, an exhibition for Division II Clayton State. Tristan Maxwell in the short corner. Kick out to Moore, lets it fly from deep. A hair too strong.
Good looking shot, feet were set, shoulders square. Just hit the back of the rim.
Now Brian Coffey began his career at North Florida, spent a couple years at Middle Tennessee State, now in his 6th year of college basketball, his 2nd at Clayton State. Coffey down the right side, he's tied it up with 90 seconds to play in the first half. The Lakers have come to play. Now they have a chance to take the lead following the turnover. Chambers a 3. No. And Moore can't hang on to the rebound. Smith tries to win it back, but they'll say his foot was on the line. Laker basketball.
Clayton State turning the corner, and that's the value of, turnover on one end. You got to forget about that. Lockdown defensively, slide the feet. Every possession matters. Clayton State will have a baseline out of bounds situation. Terry checked into the game at the dead ball.
And Clayton State's going to call a timeout. The Lakers have tied it up against Division I Georgia Tech. Just over a minute left to go in the first half. Clayton State has tied it up against Georgia Tech late in the first half. The Yellow Jackets have led by as many as 9 tonight. Lakers have not led yet. But John, Clayton State's hit 5 of the last 7 field goals. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech has not had a bucket in nearly 3 minutes.
Yeah, in a first half where the Jackets are shooting 36% from the floor, credit Clayton State's defense really getting after it. 5 guys contesting shots. The Jackets have missed some bunnies. That's where you can't afford to take plays off on the defensive end, and I think there's been a few cases of that in the last 5 minutes where the Jackets just have not buckled down defensively. And Howard's absence, you don't have the rim protector in there. That's been noticeable.
2-point jumper from Coffey won't fall. Another turnover in the backcourt. Coffey swatted away by Smith, and they'll say goaltending, count the basket. And Clayton State's got the lead.
6 turnovers now for the Jackets, and you see right there Smith hustling to get back into play. That's going to be goaltending. Clayton State forcing some havoc, causing turnovers. They've had 8 points now off of 6 Yellow Jacket turnovers.
And half of those turnovers have come in the last 2+ minutes. 15, 16-second differential between shot clock and game clock. Christian Chambers has a game-high 8 points. He passes off to Harper. And the student section might have gotten into the head of Travis Harper. He was listening to the crowd. And he says, my fault, my fault. The students caused that early shot. Well done.
Shot clock's off. 19 seconds remaining in the first half. And only 5 team fouls for Clayton State. So they have one to give. They can get a little aggressive defensively as long as they're not fouling the shooter. If they want to break the action, break the flow.
You can see the offensive drought for Georgia Tech. Miles Kelly trying to end the first half on a high note. Gets it to Franklin. Squares up towards the basket. Maxwell flashes across. Now it's Kelly. Ball in his hands. Nearly lost the handle. Out to Maxwell. 3-pointer. No. Air ball. Put back. Yes. Javon Franklin ties us up at half. 20 minutes in the books. Georgia Tech, Clayton State tied at 34. Yellow Jackets getting all they can handle and more from Division II Clayton State. Got ourselves a ball game on opening night at McCamish Pavilion. And Tech and Clayton State, the Yellow Jackets have their starting lineup back out on the floor. Kyle Sturdivant receives the inbound from midcourt. It goes right to Rodney Howard in the high post. He's guarded by Ricardo Sams. Trying to find the open man, it's Coleman. And he promptly turns it over right into the hands of Travis Harper II. And an offensive foul called against Harper. Nice work by Debo Coleman atoning for the turnover.
Vince Alexander, not a fan of that call. Debo, nice job. Turnover on one end, hustle back, make a defensive stop. That's maturity. That's getting to the next play. You see the body, the lean in. Debo had his feet set outside of the holding circle. Good defensive effort. Jackets with a chance to answer. Clayton State's defense is set, man-to-man.
Tech shot just 36% in the first half. Just a number of open looks, and now they've really had trouble turning the ball over the last 5 minutes of game action. That's 2 turnovers to begin the second half. Not the vision for Josh Passer as they left the locker room.
Yeah, came out with the set play, went for 2 backdoors on the first possession, miscommunication, and then second possession, again, a backdoor play and miscommunication between 2 players.
It's Harper down to Sams in the high-low. Clayton State's got the lead. Lance Terry, transfer from Gardner-Webb's, been quiet so far. 2 points. Deivon Smith passed a little high and away to Howard. Looking for Sturdivant underneath. Yellow Jackets being stifled offensively. Sturdivant spins, pulls up, in and out. Howard, the putback, yes. Second chance points for Rodney Howard. He's got 8. Back even at 36. Harper's pass deflected by Sturdivant. Here come the Yellow Jackets in transition. Smith to the rim, off the glass and in.
Yeah, I think if you're the Jackets, Howard is your X factor, and he's going to anchor the defense. He's going to rebound. He can start those breaks.
The freshman Weinmanson's triple won't go. Offensive rebound for Sands, stumbling out of bounds. It's to Weinmanson. He's stuffed by Coleman. Sturdivant feeds it ahead. Smith slows it down. No look to Howard, and he's fouled. Big man will go to the line for 2.
Heady play by Deivon Smith with the left-hand shuffle pass to Howard. And here's Howard defensively, gets the loose ball, quick outlet. Smith pushing in transition, and those are the type of buckets that the Yellow Jackets will need if they're going to create separation in this one. Clayton State's here to compete. They're getting after it. I mean, D2 versus your ACC powerhouse down the road. This is, this is as big as it gets for the Lakers.
Wes Williams returning for Clayton State. Travis Harper now with 3 fouls heads to the bench, getting coached up by Rashad Lewis, former Mercer Bear. In his first year as an assistant at Clayton State. Howard shot just 50% from the free throw line last year. And he hits 1 of 2 here. So lead back to 3. Largest lead of the night for Georgia Tech is 9 points. Coffee. Jackets playing a zone defense here. Cross-court pass. Coffee's 3. Too strong. Howard, his 9th rebound of the night. Sturdivant lost the handle. Recovers, but turns it over. Too many turnovers in the last 10 minutes or so of game time for Georgia Tech. But they steal it right back. Terry lets it fly, buries it. Lance Terry, his first 3. Former Bulldog from Gardner-Webb. He shot 35% from three-point land last year. No player on this Georgia Tech roster has scored more college points than Lance Terry. He's over 600 now with 5 tonight. 10 seconds to shoot. Coffee with the floater, got it.
Those are the type of shots you mentioned, that uncontested 2-point field goal, 8 feet from the basket. Georgia Tech needs to do a better job of containment.
Debo Coleman off balance, one hand, sinks it. And Debo now with 7 points.
Georgia Tech back to the zone, matchup. Will require Howard to run that baseline and leave the paint. It's a tough assignment for Howard.
Short corner, halfway down and out, but Sam's the offensive rebound and 2 points for the 6th-year senior from Miramar, Florida. Spent all 6 years at Clayton State.
Howard left the paint to contest. The backside of the zone was late recovering.
And Lance Terry going to go to the line after the foul. Going to go against Bakilecki. That's his first. And Lance Terry at the line. Terry, his senior year of high school, he was tracking to get a high major offer but broke his foot. And there weren't many schools that stuck with him. In fact, the only offer he had entering that senior year, John, was from Gardner-Webb. He took it. And, he's a guy who was very successful at Gardner-Webb. Honorable mention in the All-Big South. Had 15 points against Duke, 14 points against Georgia, playing for Gardner-Webb last year.
In 2019, while playing high school ball at the Heritage School, he took out NBA star Anthony Edwards, who played at Holy Spirit, local Atlanta private school, in the Georgia Independent School Association Championship. So that's one he probably won't forget. Bragging rights on that one.
Especially considering Edwards was an AAU teammate of his. Howard gets it to go. He's got that height advantage, the X factor for Tech, and the Yellow Jackets have now stretched it to 8 as they've hit 5 of the last 7 shots.
Howard's going to dig down. The conditioning defensively, they need him on the floor. He can't show any weakness. He's got to be out there on the court. He's the X factor.
Weinmanson kick out. Three-pointer won't go that time for Wes Williams. Coffee just inside the line. Got it. Brian Coffee from Snellville, Georgia, out of Shiloh High School.
Georgia Tech's perimeter just a little late on the rotations and box outs on the weak side of the zone.
Well, it's a 6-point lead for the Yellow Jackets. Rodney Howard, a game-high 11 points. Fighting hard at the rim. The Jackets back with a lead of 6. Josh Pastner in his 7th season at Georgia Tech, and one of his hallmarks, John, has been the defense. And I wanted to show this year-by-year progression of the Georgia Tech defense. And you look, oscillating between the top 10, the top 70. It's important to note that there's practically 360 teams in college basketball. So those first 5 years, John, they were in the top 20% defensively. Then it kind of fell off last year. And I think a large part of that was because they didn't have that true rim protector. And they also had a lot of new players trying to learn that zone. This year for the Yellow Jackets, they've got some more returning experience with those freshmen, now sophomores. The question is, can they get back to that top 20% level in defense across the country?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be 5 guys working together. Rodney Howard has the potential to anchor the interior. He's got the size. He's not a shot blocker like Moses Wright by any means, but GT was number 1 in the ACC in 3-point field goal percentage defense last season, and they're doing the job tonight. Clayton State's 3 of 13 from 3, so I think that's a key stat the way the game's played today.
And right on cue, defenses forces a turnover. The flip side of that, John, is Tech on offense under Coach Josh Pastner has struggled more times than not. I was talking to Coach earlier, and it's kind of felt like a root canal at times. You did have that top 25 year of offensive efficiency when they won the ACC championship, but it was a pretty severe fall off last year. And I think the hope is, even if the defense doesn't get to the top 25 levels, we've seen it at some times under Coach Pastner, they do feel like this is a group that can shoot the ball better than many expect. And unfortunately, we have not necessarily seen that tonight, and the turnovers have plagued Tech, especially in the last 5 to 10 minutes of game action.
Yeah, I think Josh Pastner and his staff have done a great job identifying and recruiting shooters and kind of addressing that. This may be the best shooting team on paper that we've seen. We'll see how it translates on the court, but they've got to be optimistic about the perimeter shooting that this roster is capable of.
And how about Debo Coleman? He put the Lakers on a merry-go-round there as he loops around and the lead back to 8. Coleman's going to be a big part of that shooting prowess, too. Floater that time from Baki-Lecky, and that right there is a shot that in those early years with James Bakes, Ben Lammers, Moses Wright, that was getting swatted away. Lance Terry in the corner buries his second 3. And that matches Georgia Tech's largest lead of the night.
Jackets heating up. That's 2 threes now, 10 points. Terry's in double figures in his first game as a Yellow Jacket.
And another clean look that time, Brian Coffey. He's now got 10 points. And another 3 for Lance Terry.
He's getting his confidence. 13 points, 4 of 7 from the floor.
Largest lead of the night for Tech. And the Lakers continue to answer and keep pace. And Coffey's heel was on the line. Lance Terry hit 57 three-pointers a year ago. He's got 3 tonight.
College Park native playing at home. The transfer from Gardner-Webb making his presence felt in his first game on the flats.
He had 30 schools reached out to him when his name hit the portal. Chose Georgia Tech. A chance, as you said, to play closer to home. Double-digit advantage for the Jackets for the first time tonight. Miles Kelly, sophomore with a pure stroke. And a foul on the floor is going to go against Baki-Lecky.
Debo did a nice job moving off the basketball, using his body, forcing contact, drew the foul. It's a heady play by Debo.
Coleman, he performed extremely well last year, of course, shooting the ball. They think his game could really get to the next level this year. Keep in mind, he's the highest rated recruit of the Josh Pastner era for Georgia Tech.
He was Mr. Florida basketball, a top 40 prospect coming out of high school. Had 19 points in a game versus Lamar last season, so he's capable of knocking it down.
Weinmanson, the true freshman to Sams. He's bothered by Howard. Finds a window to shoot it. Around the rim and out. Yellow Jackets with Kelly bringing it down. Howard can't handle the pass. He recovers. And Rodney Howard has already secured his 4th career double-double, now with 13 and 11.
That's the value of Kelly being on the floor. He had 3 fouls in the first half, but he can push tempo, finding his big man Howard for the layup.
And Bryce Weinmanson from Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Foul by Lance Terry. That's his first, and they'll put Weinmanson at the line. Had over 1,300 career points in high school. His parents, both student athletes at Southeastern Louisiana. Mother played women's basketball, and Dad played baseball.
Bryce, 1,300 points scored at Mandeville High School in Louisiana. He's a high IQ guy, combo guard, can knock down the 3. Tough player.
Getting a chance to start against an ACC opponent tonight. Christian Chambers back in as Wes Williams takes a seat. Second free throw for Weinmanson. He got it. Sturdivant over to Terry. Is he still hot? You bet! Lance Terry feeling it. That's his 4th three-pointer of the night.
Lakers got to find him. Late feet were set. That cannot happen if you're Coach Alexander's squad.
Doing his best Jose Alvarado impression. I can shoot.
The roof's going to come off.
Oh, left it a little short that time. Battling for the board. It belongs to Ricardo Sams and the Lakers. Chambers lost it, but we got a foul on the floor. It's going to go against Miles Kelly, and we'll step aside. Largest lead of the night for Georgia Tech. Lance Terry, welcome to the Flats. Point lead for the Yellow Jackets. How about 14 second-half points for Lance Terry? He has outscored Clayton State in this second half. And, John, we knew he was a guy who could be a real scoring threat for Georgia Tech this year. We did not see it in the first half. Man, is he making up for lost time in the second 20.
Yeah, he's done a nice job running the court, finding the open spots. 5 of 10 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. He's 2 of 2, perfect from the line. That's 16 points in 19 minutes of play. Jackets shooting 62.5% from the field in the second half.
Chambers out of the timeout. His J won't fall. Howard's got the board now at 12. He's just 2 shy of his career high, which he set on opening night last year. And Kyle Sturdivant weaves his way in and lays it in for 2. Clayton State without a bucket in the last 2.5 minutes. And a foul on the floor. Going to be on Kyle Sturdivant. That's his first. It's one thing Georgia Tech needs to improve on this year, John. They committed 18 fouls a night last year. That was the highest total in the ACC.
Yeah, it's certainly an area they were outscored by, just shy of 5 free throws per game in ACC games by opponents. And those games, they're usually decided by 1 or 2 possessions. So that's a stat. You don't want to give away points at the free throw line.
And that's one of Josh Passer's goals on a nightly basis, to have more free throw makes than free throw attempts. And like you said, they were minus 100 on the year in conference play. Another foul. This one's going to go against Rodney Howard. It's his second.
And that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's I mean, as a former player, former coach, that's a tough one. It's a great goal, but to get that to translate to your team, you got to preach, and coach and watch film, and guys got to adapt, and it's got to be a pride stat.
Well, that was another weakness, too. Not just the amount of free throw attempts they were giving up, but they shot below 70% from the line. That was among the bottom 3 in the league. Second free throw for Harper. Too strong. Howard, another board, one shy of his career high, now with 13. 15-point edge for Tech, taking on Division II Clayton State opening night at the Canvas Pavilion.
Tech's done a nice job second half pushing tempo. I mean, this is a light roster for Clayton State. There you see another dunk at the bucket by Howard. He's got the double-double already. Now he's 13 points, 15 points, 13 boards. Monster effort in 18 minutes of play for Howard.
Another turnover. Sturdivant, a 2-on-1 with Moore. Alley-oop. Yes, sir! Jalen Moore from the rafters. The lead is up to 19, and we got a timeout on the floor called by Clayton State. Watch your head. Yellow Jackets high flying and pulling away in the second half.
48, Lance Terry, a big reason for the Jackets getting separation in the second half. He's gone for 14 points since halftime. 4 of those from beyond the arc. He's 5 of 10 from the floor. Getting it done in his Yellow Jacket debut.
He's got 5 buckets tonight, 4 threes. And then that one-hand jam we saw at the top of that package. So a 19-point lead for the Yellow Jackets. And John, I think this is an encouraging sign to see Georgia Tech shoot the ball so much better here in the second half. And halfway down, ripping away, Jalen Moore's got the rebound. Look at what the Yellow Jackets have done offensively in this second half compared to what we saw in the first half.
Quality shots, and sometimes it just takes one to fall, you know, as a player, whether it's a layup, a free throw, and then once you get hot, you know, the confidence kind of spreads across the team. And Clayton State, they've got a light roster. They're missing a few of their key guys. Not a lot of depth. I think conditioning's been a factor. Georgia Tech continues to push the tempo, impose their will, and they're getting high-quality shots.
There's some Maxwell in on the fun that time. By the way, all 6 of those three-point attempts have been from Terry. And winds up in the hands of Georgia Tech as they battle at the rim. Sturdivant the other way. And he's a little shaken up after that fall. Teammates helping him up. Maybe Johnson also getting some help. Hope Kyle's okay. This has been a 6-0 run over the last 90 seconds for Tech.
Nice job with the left, drawing the contact. Looked like Kobe turned his ankle or caught a little cramp in the calf, but both look to be okay. Nothing too serious. Sturdivant shaking it off, getting focused at the free throw line. Where he was 3 of 4 in the first half. Sturdivant's with 7 points, 5 assists to 2 turnovers.
That assist-to-turnover ratio is going to be critical for him. That's his primary responsibility, is being able to distribute the ball and take care of it. As he hits his 4th of 5 free throws tonight. Last foul, by the way, was on Kobe Johnson. That was his 2nd. And Sturdivant hits them both. And he had some double-digit performances last year, but the primary responsibility is going to be handling the ball and being that veteran presence on the floor.
Yeah, point guard position so important. Your extension of the coaching staff on the floor. You know, last season he had the advantage of deferring to DeVoe and Usher. He's got a different role this year, and he looks ready to go. Boy,
in Clayton State, they hit 3 of their first 5 three-pointers. John, they've missed 11 straight now as that ball swatted away by Jalen Moore. Yellow Jackets in transition. No look bounce pass to Maxwell. He'll go to the line as he draws the foul.
credit Jalen Moore with the great defensive effort off the ball. Look at his athleticism. The extension here, boom. Came from nowhere, starts the break. Your best offense is good defense, and that was it on display right there.
If you were going to rank the Yellow Jackets on raw talent, I think Jalen Moore might be at the top.
Yeah, he's got the frame, he's got the width, he's got the length, the skill is there, he can handle the basketball. For him, it's about minutes played, getting experience, game experience, and it's a confidence thing at that point.
Maxwell hits the free throw after Wymanson's charge for his third foul. And look, John, I mean, there's a lot of guys in college basketball that, they have talent, they have upside. Can you get them to that level? And you look at Josh Passer and his staff, they have shown an ability to develop at an extremely high rate. I mean, Jose Alvarado, Moses Wright, Ben Lammers, James Banks, a lot of guys that reach their potential, especially a guy like Moses Wright. He came in and he was rather inexperienced when he arrived on campus. Finishes as a senior being the ACC Player of the Year.
Associate head coach Anthony Wilkes, assistant coach Julian Schwartz. They've been with Josh. They know what he wants. He doesn't have to tell them what's important. And those guys are valuable members of Coach Pastor's staff.
Has to be a foul on Tristan Maxwell. And with that, we'll step aside. 25-point lead for the Yellow Jackets. Hard to believe this is a tie game at half. The Jackets pouring it on, a 10-0 run as we speak. We've talked about some new faces on the floor for Georgia Tech. How about first-year assistant coach Brian Eskildsen, who spent the last 8 seasons in the Ivy League at Harvard, where he helped the Crimson to 3 conference championships under the leadership of Tommy Amaker. And John, his background seems like a good fit for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I'd say so. Majority of his time spent at Harvard, but also Rice, Stanford, some high major programs. He's young, 34 years old, can hit the pavement, get on the road, recruiting. He's got a good eye for talent. And, it's a global game now. You can go anywhere and get players. And to sell an institute like Georgia Tech in the city of Atlanta, you can see a couple guys on the roster for Georgia Tech coming from overseas.
Yeah, a couple of freshmen, Kirill Martinov and Fred Paul Bagatskis. As the referees are working on their official, we're having some whistle issues here on the floor, we're told. But for Coach Eskildsen, I think one of the biggest appeals for him was his recruiting prowess, not just on the trail itself, but specifically amongst high academic players, academically driven players. You coach at Stanford, Rice, and Harvard. Those are guys and players you have to be familiar with. And so he's recruited that type of player a number of times and is familiar with finding those players that can be hard to find at times. And that's what Georgia Tech is going to be in the market for when it comes to player acquisition.
He's got to be fired up. What an institute to sell, you know. One of the best in the world academically and one of the best cities in the world and playing in one of the best leagues in the ACC. That's a great package to go into a home and sit down with mom and dad and say, you want to be part of this?
So a shot clock violation and a turnover for Clayton State. Still over 6 minutes without a bucket. Curious if we'll see some of those younger faces in the final 7 minutes of this one. Franklin nearly turned it over. Miles Kelly rescues it. He's playing with 4 fouls.
You know, similar for Vince Alexander on the recruiting, trails. He can go into homes and, get the D1 transfers, get the junior college guys. He's got the city of Atlanta to sell. He's right there located next to the airport. Great recruiting tool, and Clayton State, competitive Division II program.
Well, I had an interesting conversation with him, John. I mean, obviously, we're navigating this new era of NIL and transfer portal, and there's been a lot of ground shaking in college athletics recently. And Coach Alexander pointed out, look, because of the transfer portal, a division school like us, we have more access to high school players because there are fewer opportunities to come out of high school and go D1 because you have schools like Georgia Tech, for instance, who are opting for transfers from mid-major programs as opposed to recruiting that high school freshman.
Yeah, the landscape of recruiting has changed tremendously. There's more of a value on prep schools. You have the overtime elites out there, so some high school players forfeiting their amateurism to go try to make money early. You got the NBA G League. It's a different ball game from when I played.
And on the flip side, in college with NIL now, Coach Passner addressed this in his season opening press conference last week, that you have a lot of players in the ACC that may not have come back, but because they do have a chance to make some money, as the floater goes for Clayton State, why not come back for another year of high major ACC basketball? So therefore, I think the league is a little older now than it might have been a few years ago, and that's not even factored in that extra year of COVID eligibility. Maxwell pulls the trigger on a 3, off the mark. Moore an offensive rebound. He hoists it high through contact and draws the foul.
Nice finish by Moore. He's got the size, He can play a 3-4. He's agile. He's a guy that can step up for this Yellow Jackets team, and strong finish there. Took the contact.
And I think it's also important to stress, look, it's no secret. We showed you the preseason poll at halftime. Georgia Tech picked to finish last in the ACC. Part of that, as we mentioned, teams returning more talent than might have been expected in a different year and in a prior era. But looking ahead at this roster, John, Georgia Tech, from an eligibility standpoint, is not going to lose a lot of players next year. Deivon Franklin we got a jump ball ruling from the baseline. They don't belong to Clayton State. Coach Alexander asking for an explanation there. Look at this.
Moore got up on the contest. He was just a little late getting into the action. Rotations. He's doing a great job. He's got 7 rebounds on the night, Jalen does. But it's defensive lapses right there. He was a split second late. He got caught steering at the basketball. And, as you get into competitive play, ACC play, that's a dunk.
And the rim protection is going to be a big challenge for Georgia Tech this year. How do they solve that? 5 seconds to shoot for Clayton State. Coffee ball in his hands, rises up and gets it at the buzzer.
I like Jalen's potential to be a, second leading rebounder type guy, third leading rebounder. If he gets the minutes and he develops, he has that package where he can do that.
And Deivon Smith lays it in. And so that's why, again, John, this season, I think Georgia Tech feels like they're going to exceed expectations. But aside from Deivon Franklin, everyone else has at least one more year of eligibility beyond this year. So I think for a nucleus like Georgia Tech, looking to take that next step forward this season. One more look at this play by Deivon Smith. if he can find a way to finish at the rim, because he has such a great ability to get a step on somebody. He's got such speed, such bounce. If he can find a way to finish those chances, John, it can be a real threat.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. In 23 minutes, he's been productive. 8 points, 7 rebounds. He can push tempo. He can defend. He's a guy that's got to step up. With the loss of Usher and Michael DeVoe, there's minutes to be had.
And shots to be taken.
I don't think you have to tell anyone out there that.
Maxwell underneath. Won't go. Moore back with it. Off balance. Takes a hard fall. We'll go to the free throw line again.
So Moore now with 8 rebounds to go with his 8 points. Putting together a nice stat line.
It's similar to what we saw against Clayton State last year from Jalen Moore when he had 13 points and 6 rebounds in just 13 minutes. All State at Gardendale High in Birmingham, Alabama.
Josh Passman's a guy that traditionally in ACC play is going to play 6-7 guys a majority of the minutes. I think with this roster, there's a little more depth. There's a little more shooting off the bench. You're going to play fresh. He's played 9 guys, a significant amount of minutes, double-figure minutes tonight. So that's a new-look Jackets team in 2022-23.
Yeah, and he said going into the game today, feels like he has a 9-man rotation. We've seen those 9 men tonight. And Jordan Mecca might be that 10th guy to get Rodney Howard into foul trouble. That'll be another thing to watch. Rebound from Jalen Moore. And the athleticism has just got to excite you so much about number 14. Speaking of number 14, how about what Georgia Tech saw on the gridiron on Saturday? Looked like an old number 14. Joe Hamilton, Zach Pyron.
Great come-from-behind victory for Coach Brent Key in Blacksburg. Not an easy place to win.
You've known Brent Key for some time, haven't you?
Yeah, he's the first guy I met as a freshman on the flats. I was a suburb kid from Boston, and he was a Alabama boy and talked a little funny, and we hit it off. But he had a stellar football career and obviously doing great things with the Jackets on the gridiron. So congrats to Coach Brent Key. 3 wins under his belt.
And count the basket for Deivon Franklin. Miles Kelly, look at his 3-pointer as we step aside. The Yellow Jackets have put up a 50-burger in the second half. Sophomore Miles Kelly. See a lot of that this year on the flats. Celebratory mood here on opening night in McCamish Pavilion, but it is also a time to step up for the Yellow Jacket community. Michael Eisenhower Toy Drive, the 22nd annual toy drive begins Saturday, November 12th. That's this Saturday, and benefits the Atlanta Children's Shelter. You can go to RamblingWreck.com for more information. And Michael Eisenhower, it's hard to believe, John, 20 years have passed since we lost Michael Eisenhower at the age of 23, and he was a teammate of yours.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Guy I worked out with daily. You know, we were the same size, worked out in the weight room, post-work, individual lessons. Spent a lot of time with Michael, and it was a sad story, but his family and the Georgia Tech community has carried on the tradition of the toy drive, you know, to celebrate his memory, and rightfully so.
Again, you know, a chance to donate toys to Ramarek.com or Saturday's home football game against Miami, 3:30 kick.
I got to smile. We just had so many good memories, and we had to guard a guy named Alvin Jones, who was 7-foot center, and we were both 6'8", 6'7" guys. We were right at Alvin's elbows, and Doc King, the legendary former dentist who was traveling with our team, he used to always be like, "Put your mouthpiece in, Michael. John, put your mouthpiece in. Alvin's going to get you." So we had some great memories playing together here on the flats.
Well, Dr. Aaron King, who passed away just 2 years ago. Miles Kelly hits the jumper, and it's amazing how many people are still around the Georgia Tech community who knew Michael personally. You being one of them, a number of other staff members in the Athletic Association. His memory still lives on fully here even 20 years later. As the Yellow Jackets will sub in most of their starting lineup here. Franklin, Maxwell, Coleman, and Kelly head to the bench. Rodney Howard, by the way, has a chance to match his career high tonight. He's got 15 points, 4 shy of his career high. He's also got 13 rebounds, 1 shy of his career high. Weinmanson, a 3-ball, won't go. Williams steps out of bounds. Another positive for Georgia Tech, John. The Yellow Jackets haven't started out of the gate with a win since 2019. They have stumbled out of the gate, losing to Mercer and Georgia State a couple of years ago, back-to-back, and then obviously recovering and finishing with an ACC championship, then lost to Miami of Ohio in the opener last year.
Yeah, and they'll have 4 days to prepare at Georgia State. That's going to be a tough one. Georgia State's got a brand new facility. That place will be rocking. Be a nice road test early on in the season for the Jackets.
But they have acquitted themselves well, especially in the second half, John. I think as disappointing as those first 20 minutes were, this has been just as impressive. The Jackets are shooting just shy of 50% in the second half. And put up 55 points and committed just 4 turnovers.
Yeah, I'd say they responded. Whatever Coach Pastner said to them at halftime, they've held Clayton State to 0 for 8 from 3 in the second half, under 30% from the floor. So the defensive effort's been there. They protected the ball, and shots started falling. I said in the first half, thought Tech took some good shots. They just had some jitters, and it's been a great performance in the second half for Josh Pastner's Jackets.
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like this is a Georgia Tech team that the defense you hope will improve from what it was a year ago, but the offense really needs to take a significant step forward if this team wants to accomplish some of their goals this year. And that's a tough assignment, knowing you've lost Michael DeVoe and Jordan Usher, but they feel like the sum of the parts, they have a bunch of guys who can score, who can shoot. Could be any guy, any night.
Yeah, and they'll have to adjust quick. You got to adapt to playing on the road 4 nights from now or 5 nights at Georgia State. The miscommunications, you got to try to cut those mistakes out of your game. They threw a couple bad passes out of bounds on the back doors, careless errors. Those are things that on the road, regardless of an ACC opponent or any D1 opponent, those are things that you got to get under wraps here in practice the next few days. And during your film sessions, assistant coaches can really coach guys individually and prepare for Georgia State.
Sturdivant with 9 points tonight. And now look at a couple of the freshmen. Fred Paul Bagatskis from Latvia making his Yellow Jacket debut, along with Kirill Martinov from Ontario, reclassified to be in this 2022 senior class, high school that is. Martinov, by the way, chose Georgia Tech over Missouri, Northwestern, Wisconsin. He's a bona fide 7-footer.
Canadian was a big-time get late.
Yes, it was.
Three-star prospect, late bloomer. He was coveted, and Coach Pastor went in there and got him.
Now getting some minutes here on opening night. That's true freshman. In the hands of Begavskis, over to Martinov.
Martinov, he was an August commit. Late get.
He's got some Russian roots. His mother played on the Russian national team. Deivon Smith gets another quick 2 points, and the Yellow Jackets, with Deivon's bucket, now have 6 players in double figures tonight. And that's that balanced scoring that I think is going to need to be a nightly feature of this Tech team.
You said it earlier. It's hard to believe this was a 34-34 game at the break. The Jackets just put it on Clayton State in the second half.
That bucket falls for Ricardo Sams. Meanwhile, for Clayton State, this is a group that was picked to finish 5th in the Peach Belt after finishing second to last year out of 10 teams. I think they can do some special things. Keep in mind, they were without their best player tonight, Jalen Shaw.
Yeah, they competed. They were in this one again for about 25 minutes.
And Brian Coffey lays it in. And I think most importantly for Clayton State, they have some continuity from a year ago. I mean, that roster last year was just tons and tons of new faces. It's Maxwell, fadeaway J won't go. Martinov, the offensive rebound. He's got a chance to pick up his first points as a Jacket here from the free throw line.
And for the Lakers, Coffey and Sams have combined for 29 points. They've shot it well from the floor. And, you know, you throw in Jalen Shaw to the mix. That's a nice trio for Coach Alexander to go to war with in Division II competition.
Martinov, who spent last year at the Lawrenceville School in New Jersey. That's the 6th-ranked academic high school in the country. And now a couple of the walk-ons checking in. Always a chance to recognize their hard work. Emmer Nichols, Braden Daniels, Jamonte Hill, Coleman Boyd. Rebound belongs to Nichols. Three-pointer for Boyd. Won't go. And it's going to belong to Clayton State. So, John, final 30 seconds here. What were your final thoughts on opening night for Georgia Tech men's basketball?
I really want to see Boyd knock that one down, number one. You know, those guys put in the effort day in and day out. Boyd can be a leader, you know, in the locker room and on the bench. He's got experience being around Coach Pastner. So my first thought was I wanted that one to drop for Boyd. But overall, good performance on opening night. You got 3 days to clean up some things, go over the Georgia State scouting report, and get ready for your first road test, which is always a tough one.
And at the buzzer won't go. Your final score, Georgia Tech 93, Clayton State 63. The Yellow Jackets behind a 59-point second half cruise to